Man, finals were rough. Oh god, okay. You know when you feel like you should do something, but then you end up not doing it because you're just like, nothing matters. That was finals. Ha! Like, I get really stressed out from studying because I'm like, oh my god, I don't know any of this, and I know that I'm not going to know any of this, but also not studying is also stressful because I'm like, I don't know any of this already, and I need to be, like, studying to know all the things for the final, so it was a constant purgatory limbo of stress leading up to finals. So I just didn't study, really. I did some very last minute studying, some last minute cramming, and it just, oh man, it was rough. At my school, they changed our schedules for 2 days so that we could do our finals. On the first day, which was Monday, we only had to go to our first, third, and fifth period. And on Tuesday, we only had to go to our second, fourth, and sixth period. And the schedules were really nice because it was like, you go to school, there's a 30-minute study period where nobody really studies and they just hang out with their friends. Then you have a 90-minute class to take your test, and then another 30-minute study period, and then you have the next class to take your test, and then you have a 30-minute study period, and then 30-minute lunch, so you have basically an hour lunch, and then you take your last test, and then that's the end of the day. It was a really nice schedule, but the tests were a lot harder than I thought, and I was like, ooh, Yankees. They weren't like hard, like, oh my god, I know nothing on this, but they were like challenging, and I was like shocked. I was shook because I was like, class has not been challenging. Why is this test so hard? On Monday, I had to take my math, history, and theater final, and I thought that my math one was going to be fine and that like my theater one was going to be fine, but it was just going to be the history one that was going to worry me because I do not do well in history, and by that I mean it's like my lowest class. I have like an A-. It's like I'm not doing like bad, but like it is my lowest class. It's the hardest class because I don't care about history. It's just so I don't pay attention really, and it's just so So I thought that one was going to be my hardest class, but honestly, the whole Monday was a mess. It starts with math when I'm looking at my test and I'm like, oh god, we are talking about things from the very beginning of the semester that were not on the review sheets. So I was like, oh god, I thought I could do this because I did all the review sheets, but like, this is from the very beginning of the semester that nobody remembers. So I was like, okay, that's fun. I didn't think I was going to do that well on that. I thought I was going to get around a B. And I did. I got like a B+, which is like, it's okay. It didn't really bring down my grade, but also I thought I could do better. So I'm just sort of like, we're just gonna pretend that that never happened. But history, history, man. History is rough. Because the test that we're given is a test for like the whole semester for our final, because we're not taking like our finals now, we're taking like, I guess our midterms. Sure, I think that's what you call them. But like, we were taking those, so we only have covered like the first semester's worth of content. So we're still given the same test for the full year, but the score for this final is only out of like half of it. It's only out of 35 versus 70, but there's 70 questions on it, and like the majority of the questions focuses on things that we have not learned yet. It's all in the next semester, and I was just like, oh god, I know none of this, I know none of this, I know none of this. And I hope that I guessed well. But like, you know when you're filling out like a Scantron and like you're answering the same answer like a lot and you're like, this cannot be right. That was me. It was just a lot of the same answers, and I was like, oh, okay. My teacher has not put in the grades for that yet. He hasn't put in any of the grades yet. I've done like 2 extra credit reports and test corrections, and this final he's put in nothing. So I'm just like, bro, I need to know what my grade is. Like, I incessantly check my grades. Like, it's very unhealthy at this point. Like on Tuesday, I was checking my grades in between my classes after school, an hour after I've checked my grades after school, and like every hour following that. I check my grades way too much because I need to know. And none of my teachers are putting in stuff, so I'm like, that's fun. But my theater final, I thought that my theater final was gonna be great. Not really, actually, because my whole theater final was basically like a whole group skit that we had to do, and I was the director for it because I was like, oh, directing should be fun because I've already done like acting stuff where you have to memorize a lot of lines and do a whole like play. I've been in the play, like I've said. I was in the play in my school, so I didn't really think that like acting would be as big of a challenge for me, so I was like, okay, I'll do directing. Directing's not fun. My god, directing has so much work. You have to get costumes organized, you have to get props organized, you have to make sure everybody's on top of their lines and they're blocking, and a lot of the people in my group also had other groups to go to because we only have like so many people in the class to be acting, so you have to like split your time and make sure that everybody knows what's going on, and it's just, we only had like 3 weeks to do it. It was not enough time, honestly. And you have to get your set together, oh my god. and then sound design and lighting, and it was just, ooh. Oh man, it was, it didn't go that well. I didn't think it would go as bad as it did, but it went pretty bad. It was just so awful too, because it's like watching everything you've worked for just crumble before your eyes. And you're just like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. And the worst part was, I was also like in this as like a smaller part of our skit. I was only in for like one of the 5 scenes, so I had to like stand like in the wings or in the sides while everybody else was acting. It was just so bad to watch, because in the scene changes when there's supposed to be a blackout, which there wasn't because the lighting guy didn't get my script because my teacher lost it. That was fun. Nobody knew what to do. And it was just so awkward as they were just sitting there and people kept forgetting their lines. They didn't know how to improv, and it was just, ooh, it was really, really bad. Nobody knew what to do. And I had to do everything myself, and it was just, oh god, it was so bad, because people didn't know how to do costume changes fast enough, people didn't know their lines, people didn't know the blocking, people didn't know anything. It was just, oh, it was rough. It was rough. And it's already rough being a director, but also having to be an actor with it, it was just, oh, it was bad. It went so bad. I hope that I'm not marked down because my team sucked, because it wasn't my fault. I really did try my best. It was bad. It was really bad. But that was just like Monday. And Monday I think was like my harder day, because it was the classes that were like challenging to me, like history and math. But like on Tuesday, I just had language arts, science, and health. And those were going to be really, really easy. And they basically were. Like my reading test was really easy. We just had some multiple choice answers and then like writing an essay. It was really simple. And then like I had like 10 minutes afterwards. I finished some homework for some other classes and I took a nap. It was really fun. Yeah, my grade for the multiple choice part of my reading test was like an A. So I was like, yeah, I did fine. I'm doing well in language arts. It's not a difficult class. And then we had the science test, which was a bit harder than I thought, but I think that I'll still do fine because I have a pretty good grade in that class. And even if I don't do fine, my grade's going to be the same because I'm doing like exceptionally well in that class. So everything should be fine. But I won't know my grade for science because we didn't do it on Scantron, so it's going to take my teacher a lot more time to grade that one. I don't know why he did that, but he did. Then the rest of the day was actually really fun because I didn't really have to do anything during the lunch portion because I didn't have to study because my health teacher has been gone for like the last 2 weeks because he had like some emergency like family or life stuff to deal with. So he wasn't here. We had a sub. So I was like, there's no way that the test can be that hard. He can't expect us to like have learned a lot in the time that he's been gone in order to test us on that. And I was right. The test was open note. When your final is open note, you know that that class is a joke. I don't think I've really talked about health and how much of a mess that class is, but it's like we never learn anything. Everything that we do is just like looking through a bunch of papers with information and copying down the notes from that paper and then using those notes on a test, and that's it. I think we've only had like one not open note test, and even during that, the teacher still gives us the answers to the test. It's so crazy. So many times in that class, I've just taken naps because that class means nothing. That class doesn't do anything. We've learned nothing from that class. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I've learned nothing from that class. There are so many times where we're just watching videos on stuff and I'll just sleep because I'm just like, I don't care and I'm really tired because it's like the end of the day and then I have a 7th period to go to where I'm actually doing stuff, so I'm like, I need to sleep. So I will just sleep in my 6th period all the time. So it was really nice and easy. I didn't even stay in that class because my theater class was having a party for their 6th period because they didn't have a final. So the teacher for that class was like, yeah, I'll write you a note, and if your teacher is like okay with you leaving after you've like finished all your work, you could come up for the party. And I was like, yes, I will 100% do that. So I finished my test in health in like 30 minutes because it was open note. It was really easy. I just copied down all the answers. And then as I was leaving, the teacher started giving people the answers to the test because that class is a joke. So I was just like, I gave him my test, I showed him my pass, and I left. He didn't even really look at the notes. I'm guessing because it was a blue piece of paper, which means that this is a pass to another class, because they like color coordinate like all their passes and stuff. So I think just because he saw a blue piece of paper, he was like, oh yeah, you can leave. It probably could have had nothing on it, and he probably would have let me leave, but like, he's a cool guy. I like the teacher, he's really nice, but it's required by like the state or whatever, so it's really stupid. Yeah, that class was a mess. I took my test, I showed him the note, and I left, and then I went to the party, which was, it was really chill. I got to hang out with my friends who were like measuring the stage because we're like zeroing out the stage for the musical that's coming up, so that's gonna be fun. But yeah, finals were rough in terms of like the test on Monday. Tuesday was okay, but like a lot of the tests were a lot more difficult than I thought that they were gonna be. But like, it was weird because the teachers were simultaneously like stressing us and also not stressing us. The teachers were like, here's all this extra work that you have to do to get ready for finals, but they also weren't like, finals are coming up, you need to be focused. They were just like, do what you will. And so like, I wasn't really stressed until it actually got to the days and like the hour in which I had to take the test. I was like, oh God. But like, I don't know when I'm gonna get on the test for a while. My history test isn't in, the essay part for my reading test isn't in, my theater test isn't in, my science test isn't in, my health final isn't in. The previous test that we took before this final isn't even in. Health is a mess. But like, let's just hope that I got a good grade and that I just absorbed enough information and guessed well enough to do well on the finals, because that's all I hope for.